Well, hello everyone, I am Fracture, and this is Let's Play Two Worlds 2. Sort of. I've been promising I would show you my mage. So let's do that. I think I'll post about a half an hour. So let's continue the game and grab my mage. So here we are. He's not bald, but for some reason you put a hat on, your hair disappears. Now let's take a look at the inventory. So, as you can see, way more stuff to apply your points to. And I'm putting essentially, you know how with my archer I put 4 here and 1 here? I'm doing the same thing but with magic. So I'm putting 4 here and 1 here. Each of the types of mastery are air, fire, water, earth, necromancy, various spell types. And everything's done with spell cards, and you get to build your own spells, and it's actually a very elaborate little system to build spells. Also, wisdom is how many modifier cards you can use, and if I can figure it out and explain it, I'll show you what that means, why that's different than your spell types. Here, talented tongue, the more complex a spell, the slower it is to cast. So if you have a talented tongue, you get lots of you get reduced incantation time. So I've reduced my incantation time by 50%. And this was actually the skill where I learned that if the skill has a cap, adding more points to it doesn't make any difference. Because you can see I've got it to level 8, plus I'm getting 2 talented tongue from a gem or something like that. And I've decreased my incantation time by 50%. But I've got one spare skill point, and if I put it in here, you can see my level is still 50%. So that's why I haven't added any more points to that. Doesn't make any difference if I do, aside from wasting a skill point. Then we have elemental focus, how fast your mana regenerates. Summoning, which is actually kind of cool, because as it happens I have level 5 and I've only put 1 point into it. But look at that, I can create 6 summons, and these summons can sometimes be quite huge. Like in my previous video, I was attacking those giant spiders. I can have 6 of those following me around. And you have basically a giant army following you. You have to be quite high in general magic and buy a lot of cards so that the summons aren't like level 1. So the summon level isn't based on how many points I put in summoning. All that affects is how many summons I can have. What the level is selected by the number of cards I spend, and I'll show you that in a minute. Battle clarity reduces mana cost, so that goes well with this, where I regenerate mana really fast. Here I'm using 25% less mana than is called for the spell. And then sorcery artisan, again, affects the type of cards and how many. And that's pretty much where I put all my points. I've picked up a couple of books and spent them, but you can see that, again, locksmith. There is a locksmith spell, but this is just so easy, and I enjoy the little locksmith mini game, and the spell just opens the chest, so you don't get to play the mini game. And of course metallurgy, so that I can increase the quality of my armor, and gems. So that's what my guy looks like. He's level 25. And as luck would have it, I've found some really good gems to go along with my character. So if you want, you can pause and I'll just do this and you can see some of the stuff that I have. There I'm actually wearing a surcoat. You can see it stops me from using a bow. But you really need that, because if you're wearing a cape, I don't know, a robe, you don't wear pants. So you lose out on that item, and you gain it back by having a surcoat. And that actually is animated quite nicely, and you'll see that as I run around. And then this is all the standard stuff, just crap loads of junk you're picking up. Here's spell casting. Well, this isn't spell casting, this is building spells. So to build a spell you need an empty amulet, and it's sort of like one of those Pokemon type games with a card holder. So the idea is you're putting cards into this amulet and building your spell. So if we go into this spell, for example, this is a 2-stage spell. It is an ice effect spell, and I've added 8 of the same type of card. So I bought 8 of these ice cards, which gives me, if you look, 1625 frost damage, which is more than, well, it's about the same as what my arrow will give me in a really good shot. So then I add a missile carrier that says, for this spell I want it to be a missile. And then I say, the missile, I add a modifier, and I say I want it homing. So I can't miss. Cool, huh? I wish I could do that with arrows. So basically, if I can target the thing and fire off a spell and there's nothing in the way, it will always hit the guy, even if he's, oh, I don't know, moving sideways. Go figure. And then damage modifier. I said I want the spell to be damage versus I want it to be a shield or something that takes effect over time. And how these other two would work, well, I'll show you these first. The other missile modifiers I can have is I can have it ricochet, which of course if it misses, it'll bounce off walls or rocks. And spray, which is what it sounds like. Much like my multi-arrow, it comes out in a fan or radially all the way around 360. So that's what that does. And the more spray modifier cards you add, the more projectiles. This spell doesn't stop there though. I have a second level to this spell, and it's a water effect, and you can see that I have no damage and no time, no shield modifier on this one, so it just has its default effect, which is spawns dense fog, blinding the enemy, and the area effect. So it's a 4-meter sphere of fog. It's not as bad as it sounds. It doesn't show up on the screen and stay there, so it's not like it gets in your way. But what this spell does is every time I hit something with it, a 4-meter blast radius blinding effect takes effect every hit. So if 5 skeletons are approaching me and I manage to hit one of them will stop dead in their tracks because they're all blind. So they'll just stand there and wait for me to kill them. Yep, kind of overpowered, and I'll show it to you. But who am I to complain? It's still fun. And if I miss a hit, I'm doomed because I'm wearing just like a cape. So, and I like that. And of course you have the same thing where some mobs will be immune to water type spells like ice. So I have a very similar spell, almost, I think it's identical actually. Fire this time, 1625 fire damage, homing, missile, and spawn fog. And you can go further. The more points you have, you could, as I said, you could have a missile that when it hits a target fires off, say, 8 projectiles in a circle, and those projectiles drop on the ground and turn into traps. If somebody steps on one of those traps, it spawns a spider. You can actually have spells like that. And then you have all the standard ones. Here's a life effect, 306 hit points, and enchants the carrier, so it heals me for 306 hit points, and you can see it's not damage. As soon as I add a damage card, 765 shock damage. And if I add a time card, let's see what that does. Increases endurance for 60 seconds by 15%. So it's up to me to find these, or go look on Wiki, I suppose. But there you go, you can go nuts. So that's spellcasting in a nutshell, and you can see I've got all sorts of air effects. And for summoning, if I add a summoning, let's go and I'll go ahead and build a summon. So let's choose any effect, doesn't matter, because summon is a separate card. So I can choose any of my spell types, and it will affect what gets summoned. So summon, and it says summon a stinger with 10% health and damage bonus. So let's add some cards. Summon a stinger with 60% health and damage, and it's a level 4. I want it higher than level 4. Well, it's now level 12, and it's 60% health and damage bonus over a regular level 12 stinger. Time, I don't know what time does. Doesn't seem to do anything actually. Oh, probably the length of time it lasts. 70 seconds. 87 seconds. So that increases the time if I want. Otherwise I've got a 1 minute. So I'll leave that. I'll actually keep that. And I'll add that to my casting bar, and we'll go out and try it. So actually, I shouldn't have left. I need to be in there. Forgotten the button again. There, finally. I'll just replace 4. And let's head outside, see if we can find something to kill. It's been a while since I've played this character, so I don't even know what quests I have running. But let's go ahead and make some guards complain.
Water, fire,
there you go.
Air.
1 level 12 stinger.
Water, fire, air. Water.
And their appearance is somewhat
Air.
random, but there you go. I have a little army to follow me around, and they can get in your way actually if you do this in a cave. Okay, I'll put my staff away, but don't mind all of these things. So there you go. So I could set up a trap to do the same thing, and they're gonna last a whole minute. So that kind of tells you what goes on there. Let's see if we can find something to attack
Who
us.
let you in?
And go where I
Oh, but
you.
I had...
You've seen this before. Tell me something. Okay. So let's go into the jungle and try to find some little red circles to attack. There's one. And unfortunately it's only one, so you won't get to see the blindness.
Don't say I didn't warn you.
So you can see the second skeleton is not attacking me because I've blinded it. And it was immune to ice, so I switched to fire. And it just stands there because that fog effect is blinding it, so it can't do anything. So whether that's overkill, I'll let you decide. And there's healing.
What do we have here?
So there you go. That's my mage. And I don't think I'll go much further than that. It kind of shows you what it can do, what he's wearing. Other than that, it's kind of up to your imagination. So if you're playing a character for the first time in this game, I'd probably recommend a mage. I kind of don't like that I found this spell that is such overkill, but at the same time I kind of like having the spell that is such overkill. I found very few things that can avoid being blinded. Ants, they don't seem to be affected by the blinding effect, but other than that, even that big boss that was up in the Tower of Fangs, basically I sat there and shot it for a few minutes. No, not even that long. I think it took 4 or 5 hits even, and he was dead without even getting near me. So whether that spoils the game, I don't know. If it did, I could easily just take the blind effect off the spell, and then it wouldn't have it, and I would have to be very skillful, because as you can guess, a mage is very fragile. He doesn't have very high health at all. So the stuff that's been taking 2 or 3 hits to kill me as an archer would be a 1-hit kill for this guy. And on the flip side, he's pretty darn tough to play early on, because of course you have low mana, you have almost no cards, you have no points in any of the spell casting areas. So initially, pretty tough character to play, but not impossible. And there you go. And once you start hitting, say, level 12 or 14, you really start to get into your own. And particularly if you stuck with a single type of magic or 2 of them. The way I played the game, I started out pretty much staying with fire and water, and that's why they're almost maxed. And just as I found books and I got more points, I kind of throw in a few. So getting a couple of these up high quickly is probably not even that important, because all it's doing is it's adding more cards. So it's letting me use 8 or 10 cards to get a really powerful fire spell. But it doesn't stop me on the type of spell, just how much damage I can have it do. These were very important. Get your mana to regenerate really fast. So that was probably the first thing I maxed out. And this less so, because if your mana is regenerating really fast, it doesn't really matter, I'm pointing at the wrong one, how much mana the spell uses, because you're regenerating mana so fast, as you could see. So you can, the blue is the mana, and there you can almost see that I've used some.
Water, earth, fire, air.
And if I just pause for a second, there it's coming back. So, you know, it's crazy, and if you do manage to use up all your mana potions are really easy to make. So essentially you've got unlimited spellcasting. So, there you go. With that, I'm actually not going to say my usual closing, because this was kind of just a demonstration video, so I hope you liked it. We won't be doing anything more with this guy. All the quests are the same, so the game isn't any different. But it sure feels different when you're playing it. It plays differently, and your approach is different, and so it's a lot of fun. I probably will be continuing with this guy sort of offline, because I'm enjoying playing him. Anyway, hope you enjoyed it. Cheers. See you later.